to escape the world, but to remember the space where your soul is always at home. There is a silent expansion happening within you. You may not see it with your eyes, but you feel it in the way you no longer resonate with what once felt normal, in the way your heart seeks truth over approval, in the way your energy asks for coherence. This is the Pleiadian consciousness awakening in your daily life. You are not becoming more distant from the world. You are becoming more real within it. Has always known how to walk in harmony, how to choose without fear, how to remain open without losing your center. That part of you is now moving to the surface. Within your chest, it is steady, it is warm, it does not flicker when your thoughts become loud. This light is your origin, it carries the memory of unity, the memory of moving in a line hand with the flow of existence. You begin to understand. You were never meant to become. You were meant to reveal. The Pleiadian consciousness reminds you. Your path is not measured by speed. Your evolution is not measured by effort. Your value is not measured by what you produce. Walking alone. You have never been walking alone. Carry this remembrance into everything you do, not as something fragile, but as something natural. I leave you my blessing. May your inner light remain steady and clear. May your heart trust the rhythm of your own path. your energy stay aligned with what is true for you. May you feel guided, protected, and deeply supported in every moment. May peace live within you, and may your presence become its gentle expression. You're not walking alone. You're not walking alone. You are 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 not walking alone. This is the Pleiadian consciousness. You are not walking alone. You are not walking alone.
Have made quite a discovery off. Divers have made quite a discovery off Nantucket Island. Divers have made quite a discovery off Nantucket Island in Massachusetts. The wreck of a German U-boat.
There is a German submarine sitting in American waters that the history books tried to ignore for decades. Researchers finally found the wreck, and what they discovered inside was pure horror.
Researchers released these renderings of a German U-boat found on the seafloor just north of the country's coast.
This was not a boat that was lost in a fair fight. Instead, it was a victim of a technical glitch that turned its own weapons against the crew. And that is putting it lightly. For 50 years, families were told their sons were in Africa, but the truth was much closer to home. This tale of twisted steel and lost souls is hands down the wildest mystery of the sea. The submarine that did not exist. The discovery off the coast of Massachusetts and New Jersey started a journey that would take decades to solve and cost multiple lives, beginning with a whisper from the deep that no one was prepared to hear. In 1991, a seasoned fishing boat captain mentioned to a diver named Bill Nagel that his nets were constantly snagging on something massive and immovable about 60 miles offshore. The coordinates for this obstacle did not match any known wreck on the official nautical charts, which was the first sign that something was very wrong in the cold, dark waters of the North Atlantic. Bill Nagel was a legend in the world of deep-sea exploration, a man who viewed the seafloor as his own backyard. So when he heard about an unidentified mountain of steel sitting in 230 feet of water, he knew he had to see it for himself. He put together a team of the best technical divers in the world, including a man named John Chatterton, who was known for his ice-cold nerves and surgical precision in high-pressure environments. They set out on a research vessel equipped with the best sonar of the era, but nothing could have prepared them for what was waiting beneath the waves. When they finally reached the bottom, dropping through a layer of murky, light-swallowing water, they saw a massive shape emerging from the silt that made absolutely no sense at all. It was a German submarine, fully intact and sitting upright on the sand as if it were still on active patrol, even though every official record stated that no such boat was lost anywhere near these waters. John Chatterton was the first to touch the freezing steel hull, feeling the vibration of the ocean currents humming through the metal, and he realized immediately that they had found something that was supposed to be impossible. The boat looked eerily preserved, with its conning tower standing tall and its hatches sealed tight, almost as if it had been gently placed on the seafloor by a giant hand, rather than destroyed in a violent, world-ending battle. But here is the catch. When they returned to the surface and checked the official naval archives of the United States, Great Britain, and Germany, they all said the same thing. Every single German submarine lost in the war was meticulously accounted for, and not a single one was missing near the New Jersey coast. According to the high-ranking experts in Washington and Berlin, this submarine simply did not exist. The divers were told by government officials that they must be mistaken, perhaps confusing a sunken freighter or a garbage barge for a lethal machine of war. But the divers had seen the conning tower, the deck gun, and the unmistakable lines of a Type 9 C-40 German U-boat with their own eyes. They gave the wreck a temporary name, calling it the U-Who, because nobody knew its real number, its mission, or why it was lurking so close to the American mainland. For the next 6 years, this mystery would consume their lives and lead them into a dangerous obsession with the truth that pushed them to the brink of madness. They were looking for a needle in a haystack made of twisted steel and salt water, and the cost of finding it was going to be higher than anyone could have ever imagined. This was not just a shipwreck, it was a ghost from a past that refused to stay buried. A puzzle that had been hidden by a 50-year-old mistake in the official history of the world. Some wild theories began to circulate among the team as they realized the government's records were stone-cold silent on this boat. What if the U-Who was not a regular combat vessel, but part of a secret, elite fleet known as the Black Submarines? These were whispered to be boats that carried no markings, operated outside the standard chain of command, and were tasked with transporting high-ranking Nazi officials or stolen wealth to secret bunkers in the southern hemisphere. The fact that all identifying manufacturer plates had been removed from the interior machinery only fueled these theories. Some researchers even suggested that the submarine was testing experimental cloaking technology or advanced silent running engines that had failed at the worst possible moment, leaving them stranded in the heart of enemy territory. And get this, the proximity to New Jersey suggested a target that was almost too terrifying to contemplate. Was the U-Who preparing for a game overrun against New York Harbor, or was it a scout for a larger invasion force that never arrived? It is not that simple, though, because the deeper they looked, the more the submarine seemed to resist being identified. Every time Chatterton or Nagel thought they had a lead, they hit a wall of redacted documents and classified files. It was as if the submarine had been wiped from the face of the earth while it was still afloat. Basically, they were dealing with a maritime conspiracy that reached the highest levels of military intelligence. The crazy part is that while the world moved on, 56 men were still inside that boat, waiting for someone to finally call them by their names. The obsession turned into a crusade, a battle against the crushing pressure of the water and the even heavier pressure of a history that did not want to be rewritten. They were determined to pull the mask off this ghost, even if it meant risking their lives on every single dive into the abyss. The U-Who was not just sitting on the sand, it was waiting, holding its breath, until the truth could finally be hammered out of the dark. The mystery only got deeper as the divers realized that someone had gone to great lengths to hide the identity of the boat. The ghost submarine that rewrote history. U-869 was a Type 9 C-40, which was one of the most advanced long-range attack machines in the German fleet. These boats were designed to cross the entire Atlantic Ocean without refueling, so they could hunt for ships along the American coast. This specific submarine was built at the shipyard in Bremen and was put into service in January of 1944 under the command of Helmut Noberg. The crew consisted of 56 men, and most of them were just teenagers who had been pulled from their homes to serve in the most dangerous branch of the military. By the time this boat was ready for combat, the war had turned into a nightmare for the German Navy, with 3 out of every 4 sailors never coming home. The men who climbed into that steel tube in November of 1944 knew that their chances of survival were less than 25%. They left Norway and headed west into the gray waters of the North Sea, and from that moment on, they were never heard from again. After the war ended, the experts sat down to match every lost submarine with a specific attack or location to close the files. For U-869, they found a report from February of 1945 that described an Allied attack near Gibraltar and the coast of Africa. The dates matched, the general area matched, and so the historians declared that the boat was sitting at the bottom of the ocean 5,000 miles away from New Jersey. The families of the 56 crew members were sent letters telling them their loved ones were resting in the eastern Atlantic near the Sahara Desert. For nearly 50 years, those families visited the wrong beaches and threw flowers into the wrong ocean, believing the official word of the government. But the wreck sitting 60 miles off the American coast was about to prove that the most meticulous records in the world were completely wrong. The crazy part is that the historians refused to believe the divers for years, even after they were presented with physical evidence from the site. It took an incredible amount of work to prove that a boat assigned to Africa had somehow ended up on the doorstep of New York City. This discovery did not just find a lost ship. It exposed a massive failure in how we record the events of the past. The truth was waiting in the darkness, and it was much more complicated than a simple navigational error. As they began to explore the interior of the ghost sub, the divers realized they were walking through a tomb that had been sealed for half a century. The price of truth in the deep. Diving to 230 feet is a task that pushes the human body to the absolute limit and often leads to tragic results, because the ocean at that depth is basically a hostile alien world. At that depth, the water is so cold it feels like it is burning your skin. A bone-chilling temperature that drains the heat from a human body even through the thickest specialized suits. The pressure is 7 times higher than it is at the surface, which is roughly 100 pounds per square inch, pressing against every single part of your gear and your lungs. This massive weight compresses the air you breathe, making it thick and heavy, like trying to inhale honey through a straw. Divers have to breathe special gas mixtures, often replacing the nitrogen in their tanks with helium to avoid the deadliest effects of the deep. And even then, they suffer from something called nitrogen narcosis. This condition, often called the rapture of the deep, makes you feel like you are intoxicated, stripping away your ability to think clearly just when you need your brain the most. Simple tasks like reading a gauge or turning a handle become incredibly difficult, and a single mistake, a momentary lapse in judgment, can lead to a quick end. The interior of the submarine was even more dangerous than the open water outside, filled with jagged metal edges, collapsed bulkheads, and thick clouds of silt that could blind a diver in seconds. If you stir up the silt inside a cramped compartment, visibility drops to 0, and you can lose your way in the pitch black, unable to find the hole you used to get inside. John Chatterton and his team spent years going back to the wreck, fighting the currents in the darkness to find anything that would give the boat a name or a number. They found bones scattered through the control room, mixed with broken dishes and personal items like shaving kits and leather boots that had been frozen in time since 1945. It was a haunting scene, like a ghost town, where the clocks had stopped the moment the explosion happened. But get this, every identifying mark on the equipment, from the manufacturer plates to the serial numbers on the machinery, seemed to be missing or intentionally scrubbed away. This made the team wonder if the crew had tried to hide who they were. Perhaps because they were on a mission so secret that the German High Command wanted them to disappear if they failed. The crazy part is that they found artifacts that suggested the boat might have been carrying high-ranking officials fleeing the fall of Berlin, including expensive personal jewelry and high-quality cigars that ordinary sailors would never have owned. The stress of the mystery and the constant danger of the dive started to take a toll on the team, stretching their nerves to the breaking point. Soon, the ocean began to claim its prize in a way that would change the expedition forever. In October of 1992, a father and son team named Chris and Chrissy Rouse went down to the wreck for what was supposed to be a routine exploration. They were both elite divers who had done this dozens of times before, and they shared a bond that most explorers can only dream of. But something went wrong in the darkness of the lower decks. Perhaps a snagged line or a failure in their breathing equipment that delayed their exit. They stayed too deep for too long, pushing their bottom time far beyond the safe limits allowed by their decompression tables. When they finally reached the surface, their bodies were devastated by the pressure change, a condition where the gases in their blood expand into painful bubbles that tear through tissue. Both men died before they could reach a hospital, leaving the diving community in a state of total shock and grief. The tragedy was a brutal reminder that the Yoo-Hoo was still a lethal machine, even 50 years after it had officially been declared dead. Some people in the community started to say the mystery was not worth the lives of any more men and that the submarine should be left alone in the dark as a permanent grave. But John Chatterton refused to quit, believing that walking away would mean the Rouses died for nothing. He believed that he owed it to the men who died, both in the war and in the search, to find the truth and bring closure to a story that had been buried in the sand. He felt that the crew members of the sub who had been forgotten in the wrong ocean and the divers who died trying to find them deserved to have their story told correctly. The obsession with the Yoo-Hoo became a mission to honor the fallen by correcting a 50-year-old lie, no matter the cost. There are even wilder theories that the Rouses may have seen something inside the sub that they were not supposed to find, something that led to their fatal delay. Some suggest they stumbled upon a hidden safe or a cargo hold containing documents that could have rewritten the history of the war's final days. What most people don't realize is that once you start looking for answers in a place like this, the wreck begins to take hold of your mind, dragging you deeper into the mystery. This was no longer just a project. It was a battle against the ocean itself to reclaim the names of 56 lost souls. The pressure to succeed was now equal to the pressure of the water above them, and the stakes had never been higher. The physical evidence they found next would change the story from a mystery of location to a mystery of pure horror. A self-inflicted nightmare beneath the waves. When the investigators finally looked at the damage on the hull of the submarine, they saw a pattern that did not match an Allied attack. Usually, when a boat is taken out by depth charges, the hull is crushed from the outside by the force of the water pressure, leaving massive indentations that look like the boat was squeezed by a giant hand. But the hole in U-869 was different, because the metal was torn and peeled outward, meaning the explosion came from the inside or resulted from a terrifyingly direct hit that pierced the skin before detonating.